So we are going to lose some skill as we progress forward.
Okay. Excel shows up. When's the last time you did long division? In your head or with a pencil?
Well, I've got a bunch of kids, so I do it all the time when they were in
Okay.
school, right?
Aside from teaching your kids,
You're right.
Aside from teaching your kids a skill they will never use again, we don't do it. And so there is some tribal knowledge loss. We still teach that skill, but there's no work environment that would appreciate that skill.
You're absolutely right.
Welcome to Embracing Digital Transformation, where we investigate effective change leveraging people, process, and technology.
This is Darren Pulsipher, Chief Solution Architect, author, and most importantly, your host. On this episode, what we're losing to technology, the value of the human experience, part 2 of my interview with Kevin Surace. There is a danger in here that we leave behind some tribal knowledge that now disappears.
Absolutely.
Just like a really good secretary, right? That is a skill that we talked about this earlier. That is a skill that takes years. A really good admin takes years to understand the cadence of things and how to do that, where that knowledge is going to, slowly disappear, and we're just going to accept, what we're doing. We see the same thing in lots of different areas. So we are going to lose some skill as we progress forward.
Okay. Excel shows up. When's the last time you did long division? In your head or with a pencil?
Well, I've got a bunch of kids, so I do it all the time when they were in school. Right?
Aside from teaching your kids,
You're right.
Aside from teaching your kids a skill they will never use again, we don't do it. And so there is some tribal knowledge loss. We still teach that skill, but there's no work environment that would appreciate that skill.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so now writing by hand. Okay, up until a couple years ago, if you had to do 52 blog posts for the year, you either had a full-time person or you had a consultant write your blog posts.
Right.
I used to have a consultant, and it was whatever, $500 to $1,500 per blog post, and you'd go back and forth for a week, and that would be the one for that week. Next week you do another one and this is kind of a full-time interaction, right? Not anymore. I could do all 52 for the year today. Yeah. I can ask GPT-4o for 52 titles based on my website. Then I can say, write 1,000-word blog posts for all 52 titles. Then I can edit them the rest of the day, and I can put them in the vault, and they are ready to go for the year. Actually on LinkedIn, I can set a timer, already set them up for the entire year. Yeah. And I can have generative AI generate graphics for each one of them that ties to what was written there.
Well,
okay, I'm done for the year. So the tribal knowledge, and this is being talked about already in college, of sitting down and literally writing word by word. And I know writers who listen to this, they're going to get mad. And the tribal knowledge of writing word by word will go away. Just like the tribal knowledge of doing a ledger book went away. You don't do a ledger book in finance because we have Excel and we have programs. The same is true. We're just not going to write word by word.
It's because they're just not valuable anymore.
Well, who would pay you to do it?
There's no value there.
There's no value. The machine is better than you. The machine's always better than I am. And again, a writer's going to argue this. It's better because it read 1 trillion phrases. I can't. And it remembered them all. I can't.
So is this going to elevate our, this is a concern I have. It's going to elevate our thought. We're going to become more and more strategic.
Yeah.
But not everyone in the world can think that way. Not everyone in the world thinks strategically. We are all very unique. There's some of us that think very tactically. There's some of us that like the mundane, hey, I got to do this thing every day because that's how I survive. Are we relinquishing that whole group of people, or do we have to find a new way of doing things?
Sure. So we said this, 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
We sent manufacturing in the U.S. offshore. I don't think that was a good thing, but nevertheless, we did it. It's just fact.
Yeah.
And we lost a lot of tribal knowledge of manufacturing that we're actually trying to get back now, and we're thinking that maybe this was, geopolitically a really dumb idea, right? And we only did it because Americans like cheap goods. We like cheap goods. And if you are beholden to your shareholders, you also like cheap goods. So it is what it is. Now, so then you say, oh my God, all these people lost their manufacturing jobs and that's the end of that. Well, over a 20-year period, right, the people who would have gone into manufacturing or were in manufacturing before found other things to do.
Other things to do.
Whatever those are, they found other things to do, because today when we bring plants back and we need 5,000 workers, we can't find them. It's not like they're sitting on the street going, I'm just waiting for that manufacturing job to come back. Even people who did a very repetitive job on a line eventually found something else to do that was valuable in some way, that was productive for them, right? And I don't know what all of those are, but it's interesting.
Yeah, but so this actually could unleash, because it's moving so quick. I've never seen anything move this fast. Even back in the 90s with the dot-com boom, this is moving faster than that.
Yes, because it's built on an internet that already exists and smartphones that already exist. Like we're already in the billions there, so this can just ride atop those waves.
Yeah, it's right. So do you think that this will unleash a whole new realm of new capabilities, new ways of manufacturing, new ways of producing value? Because ultimately, that's why we go to work, is to produce some kind of value that someone else
give me an example
for, right?
Great question. So here's an example, right? Lots of companies working on humanoid robots right now. And humanoid robots have been very complicated until recently. And they were very complicated because primarily they were programmed with a rules-based system, meaning that if I wanted a humanoid robot to make coffee, I would have engineers for months program a set of rules. If then,
go through all the
if this, then right. And then over the last couple of years, we see many more of these robots using reinforcement learning. So basically, watch me make coffee. Here's the correct outcome. So it's a gamification, right? There's only one outcome where you get the prize, and that is you made a cup of coffee and it tastes good. Learn yourself. And it sits there and there's coffee all over the place, and everything's a freaking mess for days. But over some number of days, it eventually perfects making coffee, because it will get there through reinforcement learning. We were doing reinforcement learning the last 20 years, but we were doing it, and then over the last 12 or 14 years with deep learning. But we were doing it just to learn games. It's how you learn to play a game without teaching it how to play a game. So each of these is now a new game for the robot. And then you can have multiple parallel robots, each learning different things, and then you can put all that data together, right? So I see a time over the next 5 or 6 or 7 years where we get to a point where humanoid robots are so good and so inexpensive that we can all have one or two in our homes. This is important. That is a new industry where someone is going to make and program and update and maintain billions of things that don't exist today. Literally billions over some period of time, right? Billions at work and at home. And we will all have someone, a robot at home that does the laundry, cleans up the dishes, and cooks when we want it to if we don't want to cook that night, right? This is a good thing. We all want that. And this is a whole new industry that we're talking about, $1 trillion industry that doesn't exist today, but will exist because of LLMs. And someone's got to go repair them and fix them and take them out and deal with the chargers that aren't charging it and software that went crazy and whatever. So there'll be millions of people employed, perhaps, around humanoid robots so that there's 1 billion robots. Doesn't exist today.
Yeah. I think you're right. We're going to see new industries emerge and grow. And to me, I'm excited. I'm totally excited about the direction that we're headed.
Best time in technology ever, right?
Oh yeah. It really does remind me of the 90s, with all the possibilities are in front of you, right?
Right.
And I still think, I remember at the time, I had the internet in my house when I was in college, because I was a sysadmin at the university. So early 90s, right?
Yeah.
So I've had the internet my whole college, from college on. Well, even back in high school, I was on bulletin boards and all that stuff. But
right.
My wife at the time, in about 99 or so, she goes, "Why in the world would I ever use the internet?" to do
Of
shopping.
course.
I would never do that. Oh my goodness, Amazon's at my house every single day with stuff arriving,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. It's amazing how we change our habits when, you know what? Steve Jobs said this: convenience trumps all.
Yes,
He
that's
said
it.
it with the iPod, right? It's like convenience trumps all. If I could put all of your music in this little device, even if it doesn't sound nearly as good as your big stereo at home, convenience of carrying all your music on one little device trumps all. And he was right. And convenience of shopping online trumps all.
Yeah, and so I think that's where we're headed. The convenience aspect is going to drive new industries and new things. And as far as a robot goes, we'll be the first to sign up for a robot in the house. My wife and I have talked about this. No hesitation whatsoever. We will.
You might be the second. I'll be the first. That's right. There's no hesitation whatsoever. No, provided it's affordable, and I think we're looking at numbers that are starting to get affordable, and you'll probably be able to rent them, is what you'll do, monthly.
Oh yeah,
and it'll be
that's
less expensive than having any kind of human do this work. And frankly, we don't have enough humans to do the work. There aren't enough humans to come to everybody's house. That's impossible, right?
Well, and they're seeing that in Japan.
Elder care.
Yeah, elder care.
Elder care, and they are deploying robots already in elder care to at least listen to these people and listen to their stories.
We were just in Japan recently, and there's this great robot out there called Love It. I fell in love with it. It's this little tiny penguin-looking robot.
Yeah.
That is an emotional robot. It doesn't talk. It just coos and makes noises, and they have the movement down, and you see this little robot, and it comes up and wants to cuddle with you and all this. I'm like, this is cool. I want one of these. Right.
Well, and if you're 90 and in the memory care facility, you really want that. That is a game changer for you.
Yeah, it is.
Game changer for you. So the possibilities are endless. It's so exciting. So yeah, look, LLMs are a game changer. 1 trillion tokens is a game changer, and it's allowing, I've been speaking to computers since high school, actually, right? But that's because I could program. But for the rest of the world that didn't know Python or C or whatever, the first time they really, really got to talk to a computer was, ChatGPT.
Yeah, you're right.
And so we could talk to this a long time ago, and we could use deep learning back in 2012, and we could use AI before that. But now everyone can talk to the darn thing because it speaks English, and you don't need to speak to it in some foreign, computer language.
In fact, I think in Darren's crazy thoughts, right now programmers are using Gen AI to help them write code.
Yeah,
I think that's silly. Why wouldn't you have the Gen AI write machine language?
Yeah, it could. That's right.
Why go to a temporary language in the middle that
that then has to compile?
That then has to compile.
Yeah. So for
directly,
everybody doesn't know, but what we really do is we take say a Python and compile it to assembly, and we take assembly and push it to machine language. Right? There's these 3 steps.
Yeah.
And machine language is literally just ones and zeros because that's how the machine works. Technically, we could train Gen AI to just make the ones and zeros and skip all the interim stuff.
Yeah, could you imagine how much more efficient it would be?
I can, but we as humans would never be able to debug it because we can't read the machine code, right? I mean, we all did that work in college because we had to learn that process.
Yes,
right?
we did.
1 0 1 1 0 1 1, but we could ask AI to decode it for us and decode it and put it in a language that we understand, which is English. Just tell me what this is doing. It's a super interesting idea. Why take all these interim steps that are completely useless that were designed for humans that kind of understand the logic?
Well, yeah, and that was the whole point of languages, computer languages in the first place. The whole point was so that we didn't have to type ones and zeros to the processing unit. Right.
That's right. But in the end, the ones and zeros do get typed. They just get typed by 2 layers of abstraction.
Yeah. But now, why go through those layers of abstraction? In fact, I was even thinking the same thing about in computer science, we have a lot of frameworks that we use so we don't have to rewrite code. So we write these frameworks, which provide another level of abstraction. I'm already seeing those frameworks disappear because Gen AI can write directly and write more efficient code than running through a framework. Because frameworks are built to have a lot of different inputs and highly configurable, which make them slower. So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, we're seeing a big, huge shift in that whole industry. We're going to see that in lots of other industries as well.
Well, look, the one thing that Gen AI is doing from a personnel standpoint, as we've seen people graduating from college this year, it used to be there were unlimited opportunities for college grads with a computer science degree. Now, no one wants the entry-level people because Gen AI is far better than an entry-level person.
You are absolutely right. And this is a problem as well. I call it the skills gap that's being generated.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, when I was a senior software engineer, I had junior guys working for me that I gave grunt work to, and that's how they learned. That's how they learned what it meant to be a good software engineer. Right.
Right.
You got to work through the hard things and you build your skills up. Now, I wouldn't. It costs money.
It costs real money. For $20 a month, I can have a machine generate all of that and more.
Exactly. So how do I get those junior guys moving into senior positions? Because eventually I'm going to retire and die.
Well, you can't.
There you go. It's like COBOL programmers, right?
Dude, this is Silicon Valley. We've been working on health span longevity for the last 5-6 years.
Yes, you are.
We're starting to make some progress, right? So everything from telomeres to all the stuff in between the DNA. And, there's a lot of people doing that work now.
But that skills gap is a real
It is a real issue. All kidding aside, it's a real issue. I don't know how to solve it because no one wants the entry-level people because Gen AI replaces them.
Well, unless we start thinking long term. If an organization thinks beyond this quarter and is thinking 10 years down the road.
I'm sorry, which organization is that?
Yeah, the one that's not public.
In the US? No.
Exactly.
In Japan? Sure.
In Japan, sure. Yeah. But we're gonna have a problem here in the US if we don't invest in our people that work for us and grow them up. But
you know what? It's the skills gap we have now in manufacturing. We go to hire great manufacturing engineers, and there are none because we didn't bring any up. And nobody has the skills. The skills were all offshore. TSMC, building a fab in Arizona, they had to bring over hundreds of people from Taiwan because there is no one in the U.S. who has those skills anymore. There's a few, obviously, Intel and a few others, but mostly they're gone. They retired is what happened. They retired and no new ones came in. And so we have a skills gap. We have a skills gap.
Same thing, shipbuilding. I've been working in shipbuilding for some time and trying to help them optimize. They said their biggest problem is they don't have anyone that knows how to build ships in the United States.
Right. Well, we have, 1 or 2 shipyards anymore where we used to have 40 of them and, we don't know how to do it.
They're all in Asia.
Even the U.S. Navy is saying maybe we got to build some of them in South Korea because they have knowledge of how to build ships. What do we have? Groton, I think. We have 1 or 2 shipyards here, right? It's not much.
There's probably half a dozen, but they're always behind. And they have a lack of welders too. I mean, this problem is manifesting itself right now in manufacturing. We're going to hit the same problem for white-collar workers.
Hey, I'll tell you what. In Silicon Valley, you're in Silicon Valley, right?
I'm in Sacramento, but Silicon Valley.
Oh, Sacramento, yeah. So the thing in Silicon Valley, I can talk to it, but it's starting to be this way around the country. So in Silicon Valley, if you want a plumber, of course you can get one 3 weeks from now. But let's say you've got a problem, the toilet's backed up, whatever. Okay, a plumber will come in the next hour or two, $350 just to show up.
Yeah.
Now that includes their first half hour of time, but if they need parts, it's more, right? Let's just do that multiplication. Let's say that they do that 6 to 8 times a day. Okay. The plumber is going to make $700K a year.
Yep.
Why? Because there's not enough of them and they can charge whatever they want. And I'm going to pay $350 because this toilet is backing up and there's literally SHIT on the floor, right?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating, right? This is fascinating. So when I'm, speaking sometimes, well, what should my kids do in college? I said, go to trade school, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. We for 30 years we said don't go into those fields, and it turns out we are dying. We're gasping for air. And then I've gotten to speak in front of some of these organizations. Like one of them is the commercial kitchen equipment repair organization, right? And so they repair this stuff for repair the sous vides in hotels. Well, they're huge. And in a hotel you're serving 850 lobster tails tonight. Those are done in a sous vide. Like, there's no way you can get 850. A sous vide is a water bath kind of a thing, or an oil bath, right? So if the sous vide goes down, you're not feeding those people. Like, you have to have it right now. The problem they have is
tens of thousands of dollars.
They can't hire people. They can't hire them. And when they do, these kids who grew up on video games don't know the difference between an engine and a motor and a heating coil or a rheostat. They don't actually know what any of these things are. So when they come in to look at a sous vide, they literally, fundamentally don't understand how the water heats in the sous vide. Like, literally no understanding of this. And so they can't train them basic mechanics, because when we grew up, probably you're the same, I had to repair the car and take it apart, and I had to repair radios and TV. I repaired everything. We learned how everything worked because there was no one around. We couldn't afford to have people come and do it. So if we could fix it, we fixed it ourselves. And I did body work. I did engine work. So I knew all the pieces. I know what a solenoid is and a motor, and it doesn't matter, right? These kids don't know that. They know video games, and they'll crush me in a video game, but they can't fix anything because they don't know how it fundamentally works.
Fascinating. So, but robots are going to do that for us anyway. So why do I care?
I don't know. The problem there, here's the problem. So robots are very good at highly repetitive things that are pretty much the same all the time.
Problem solvers.
The problem is when you think of a house and you've got a toilet backing up. First of all, every house, the plumbing, unless it's a cookie cutter house, is different. Literally. So a robot walks in. I've never seen a house like this before. I don't know where to look for anything. Even if it figures out where to look, it doesn't really understand where could the clog be. It could be between here and the street. It could be just after the toilet. It could have come from the same, all kinds of problems, right? And so the complexity of teaching a robot that, even with LLMs today, it's a really hard problem.
So it's that really hard problem.
It's a little bit like driverless cars, right? Really hard problem.
Right. It's that intuition then. This is where humans really shine, is the intuition, right?
Even though I've never seen something before, and LLMs aren't good at this at all, if I've never seen something before, I can, with intuition, guess that it's probably down this road, right? That's probably a good place to look. LLMs aren't built to do that. No, they are built to put one word after another based on, or one pixel after another, or diffusion, whatever, based on other things they've seen. Yeah. It just reproducing what they've seen before in some new format. So of course, people are working on this problem, but I don't think that robots are going to be the answer to doing drywall too much, or doing electrical and designing the electrical within a house.
Right, now,
and
the
all
drywall,
of that.
we want them to do the drywall because that's a pain to do the drywall.
It is, and there is a drywall robot, by the way, but it's very limited in certain things it can do. Yeah.
It probably can't patch a small hole that was put in the wall by a teenager.
No. It's meant to put up sheets of drywall. And score and snap and put up a sheet, and score and snap and put up a sheet. So look, I think for the next many decades, a safe career is plumbing, HVAC, electrical, both commercial and residential.
Yeah, those services that are needed.
Trades.
Trades. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Hey, Kevin, we're out of time. This has been incredible. I love talking to you. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Much fun. Great questions. And I think we solved one or two of the world's problems.
Well, of course. If people want to reach out to you to have you come speak at their event or anything like that, how do they find Kevin?
Yeah, kevinsurace.com, just my website. And I've got contact information on there and a form to fill out. And I've also got my virtual Kevin is there. So there is a textual one, there's an audio one, and there's a visual one. You can literally interact with me like we're interacting. And nice. It's trained on me. It's trained on my writing. So you can have a great conversation with virtual me.
That's awesome, Kevin. Hey, thanks again for coming on the show. This has been great.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Embracing Digital Transformation today. If you enjoyed our podcast, give it 5 stars on your favorite podcasting site or YouTube channel. You can find out more information about Embracing Digital Transformation at embracingdigital.org. Until next time, go out and embrace the digital revolution.